Hey guys, what's crackin'? Godsman here, coming at you with another top 10 list. Today, we'll be entering into a world of amazement and taking a look at the fascinating and sometimes enigmatic Pale Moon clan. Debuting in BTO 3 Demonic Lord Invasion, Pale Moon is a rather odd deck that often straddles the line between good and evil. On one end, you have a cute, quirky band of circus freaks, while on the flip side, you have a sinister group of dastardly assassins. Initially showcased by Team AL4's Asuka Nanami, Pale Moon was an antagonistic clan at first and showcased more of the clan's vicious personality. However, come G-Series, the clan would turn to demonstrate the more bright and lighthearted nature of it, with Rummy Labyrinth's own idol, Luna Yumizuki. The dichotomy shown in both the players and the clan itself is quite fascinating indeed, and this opaque nature also carried over to the mechanics of the Pale Moon Circus. See, Pale Moon is a clan based around calling forth units from the depths of the soul to the field of battle. This is interesting as it draws several parallels. First and foremost, Pale Moon, alongside Dark Irregular and Spike Brothers, were the three original clans that made up the Dark Zone Nation, and also, interestingly, the three members of Team AL4, discounting Ren Suzuki. This parallel also pertains to how the three decks played, where all three of them utilized the power of the soul as the heart of their strategy. We already discussed Dark Irregular in last video, which focuses on increasing the number of your soul for various effects, but whereas DI took the quantity-based approach with its soul stack, Pale Moon instead would rather focus on the quality of its soul, and aims to set up its host of talented performers from within the soul before unleashing them to the field. As befitting the mysterious nature of the clan, this grants the Pale Moon Circus several unique and powerful benefits. Firstly, it has a strong aptitude for creating a field from nothing by calling from the soul, but also being able to then return those units to your soul at the end of the turn, thus bypassing whatever effects your opponent may seek to ensnare them with. Furthermore, the performers of the Pale Moon are experts when it comes to working with each other, capable of executing fantastic multi-step combos together to outmaneuver the opponent and ultimately overwhelm them. It's quite the tricky clan, one that has seen a fair bit of success over the years thanks to its unique benefits and the dual nature of being a very resource-conscious clan with strong board building, while also being a force of sheer aggression on the level of Nova Grappler or Aqua Force, thanks to its ability to rapidly call units from the soul mid-battle for ruthless multi-attacks. To reiterate, in today's video, I'll be discussing the many bosses of the Pale Moon Circus and assessing which of these ringleaders had the most impact on their clan. Bosses are qualified as any grade 3 or greater unit, typically with an effect on the Vanguard circle. And note that impact is the name of the game here, as raw strength alone won't cut it in the dexterous Pale Moon clan. Rather, it is their versatility that will be key here for this video. But make no mistake, as every card on this list saw some form of competitive success. But before we get into the list, however, if you're looking for more Vanguard content like this, then do be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I'm doing this series for all 24 clans, so if there's a clan you're looking forward to that I haven't done yet, then you'll want to turn on that bell so you don't miss out. And with that said, let's dive into the list. I hope you enjoy. Let's begin with an honorable mention, shall we? And for this very honorable mention, we have Masked Magician Hari. First taking the stage in G Trial Deck 7, G-Series Hari makes a grand entrance in our list for introducing us to the Magia mechanic, which allowed the player to call cards from the soul so long as they then returned those cards back to the soul at the end of the turn. This was a key mechanic for Pale Moon that absolutely defined the clan for the rest of its existence. That said, Hari didn't quite make this list due to lack of major tournament appearances during his time, but he definitely changed how we pay Pale Moon moving forward. Fast forward to 2025, however, and thanks to the addition of the standard deck crest, Hari is poised to be one of the best decks in the premium format as of now, so it may not be long before this quirky star performer rises through the ranks. However, for the time being, he shall rest as the honorary mention. Starting us off at number 10 is a Stride evolution for Dear Hari, that being Masquerade Master Hari. First releasing as a promo, interesting, Hari was effectively the GZ Stride for Pale Moon, and it shows with his powerful talents. Let's read. Magia. Auto Vanguard Circle. Counterblast 1 and choose another Masquerade Master Hari from the Generation Zone and turn it face up. Choose 2 cards in your other circles, put them in your soul. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 3 cards from your soul, call them to separate rear circle, and at the end of the turn, put them into soul. Then, continues in the Vanguard Circle. All of your rear guards with the Magi ability get power plus 3000 for each face-up card with Hari in its name in your G-Zone. GZ was not particularly kind to Hari, and didn't even provide a full wave of support for the boy. However, it did give us easily one of the best strides the clan had ever seen up to that point, creating multi-attack, countering lock, and providing big power buffs for your multi-attacks all in one card. This card remains a staple in the Pale Moon G-Zone to this very day, even in the new 2025 Crest Hari decks. That said, given the caliber of his competition, Hari falls short at 10th place here due to not pushing the deck much higher at the time of its release. Still, a very solid unit to start off this fine list. And at number 9 is another stride, that being Mid-Air Megatrick, Yvette. First appearing in Premium Collection 2020, Yvette had this trick up her sleeve. Magia auto on the Vanguard circle. When it attacks, put a card from your hand to your soul and flip up a card in the G-Zone. Get Imaginary Gift Excel. Call a card from your soul to the additional rear circle, and that unit gets 15,000 power to end of turn. Also, at the end of that turn, put it back into the soul. From the infamous 2020 Premium Collection comes a fairly tame stride, all things considered. Nevertheless, Yvette is still very powerful and remains a staple option to this day for Excel ramp and multi-attack potential in the G-Zone. Oh, and the cost is less of a cost and more of a helping hand in your soul. Yvette is basically perfect as a first stride, no two ways about it. You could honestly make the argument that Yvette, alongside Hari and one other stride higher up on this list, were major factors in this clan's success in Premium, due to how you could toolbox your G-Zone for nearly any situation. Though, said other stride is rather absurd by comparison, so we'll get to them later. The reason why Yvette herself is so low is that she didn't solely contribute to the clan's success, but was just another important factor in the show that makes her performance all the more dazzling. Still, she does a fine job as a setup stride and will continue to get the job done for years to come. It's time for the V-Series cards to start making their introduction, and first up on the roster we have Nightmare Doll Carol, a V retrain released in VPT06 Phantasmal Steed Restoration, and did so with these skills. Auto on the Vanguard circle. When placed, look at 5 cards from the top of the deck and put a card from among them into the soul. If you put a Grade 3 Workroid, however, you may call it to the rear circle. Then, auto on the Vanguard circle. When your Grade 3 rear guard is put into your soul, you counterblast 1 and discard 2 from hand. Ride a Workroid from the soul as stand, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn. Carol was the Vanguard of choice for the Nightmare Doll archetype, whether that be in V-Series or in Premium. Carol added consistency to this strategy in both formats, as her on-place effect and the Excel marker functioned well for Premium, while also providing a win condition for V. Admittedly, she was a lot more impactful in Premium, as Nightmare Doll was the premier Pale Moon Premium deck for 2021 until Hari dethroned it most recently. The meta record for this deck is as prestigious as they come. Nightmare Doll would score 17 top cut finishes in Premium. Wowzers! 2 of them were first place finishes in 2 different regions of the 2021 BRO, then 2 more first place finishes at BCS Singapore in 2022 and BCS Anaheim in 2023. The Nightmare Doll deck in Premium was by far the most successful variant of Premium Pale Moon to date thus far. The only reason this card is lower on the list is due to the existence of an even more crucial Nightmare Doll boss higher on this list, so we'll be returning to this highly successful strategy later on. For now though, Carol takes 8th on the list. And for lucky number 7 is Tricky Assistant, a V original unit which released in VPT04 with these wonderful skills. First off, auto on the van or rear circle. When placed, counterblast 1. Choose one of your and your opponent's rear guards each, and put them into soul. If 2 cards were put, this unit gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. Then, when rode upon, you may call this card to rear circle. A seemingly innocuous unit at first glance, Tricky Assistant ultimately proved that her name was not a mistake. So let me ask you, do you enjoy Denial Griffin combos in Premium? Well, if you do, then I suggest you go ahead and read Lovely Companion here, and it will make sense as to why you played Tricky Assistant in Premium Hari decks. Okay, but aside from the Nile Griffin combo, which is absolutely her #1 benefit because those are quite powerful and rare to come by these days, this had more than one use, as a matter of fact, as it was also a great way to thwart this clan's nemesis, Hanali. But that didn't always remain the case, unfortunately, as Hanali would later be retrained to remove itself from the field so it could dodge Tricky Assistant, thus hurting her overall standing in the clan. Still, Tricky Assistant found its way into many different Pale Moon decks during its time, and she had large impacts during said time in both Hari and also Songster loop decks, so overall, you go girl. Oh, and would you look at that, at 6th place we've got Visible Songster herself, also a V original unit like Tricky Assistant. Songster would also release in VBT04 like Tricky Assistant. It's a small world after all. So here's what she does. Auto on the Vanguard circle. When your unit attacks while boosted, counterblast 1 and put 2 rear guards into your soul and call a card from your soul to rear circle. Okay, so surely a Vanguard with just one measly line of text couldn't possibly be that bad, right? Well, also, like Tricky Assistant, okay, I'll cut it. There's more to her than just a cute face. Simply put, this card made an infinite loop in Premium. Yep, she does that. How, you may ask? Well, the idea was that you would use Songster in tandem with the key performer Flying Peryton to make multi-attacks. Pretty simple, right? And it scales off CB. Yeah, see, this is where the surprise actor Rain Elemental Tier comes into play. The idea behind the Songster loop was to hold the opponent at 0 damage. Then you use Cray Elemental G-Guards to buy time until you were set up. Then, with very few CB, you could pull off a damn near infinite loop because the moment you ran out of Counterblast, you call Rain Elemental Tier for massive countercharge. This potentially allowed the player to 0 to 6 your opponent in a single turn. Yes, Pale Moon shenanigans. But why only at 6? Surely this was a crazy deck, right? Well, it did hit top 4 at Ontario in 2019, which is a pretty big achievement all things considered, but it's also its only big achievement. This deck was definitely powerful, but it's slightly fragile, and damage triggers could shut down your turn. Prankster Girl and eventually Sarzan would make this deck more consistent later, but even then, Hari would have the bigger showings at the 2021 BSFO event, the last event that Songster was ever legal. After all, Bushiroad would then summarily ban Songster shortly after, while also choice restricting Peryton with trapezes to prevent these multi-attack loops from continuing. Still, creating infinite loops and getting multiple cards hit are definitely the kind of things we look for in these lists, so Songster would continue to be quite visible on this list. The Big 5 is upon us, and we start off with yet another V original unit. This time it's Silverthorn Beast Tamer, Dorian. Like Carol, Dorian also, okay, I'll actually stop the gag now, released in VPT06. But seriously, a lot of Pale Moon's finest released in the same 2 to 3 sets in V-Series. It's pretty phenomenal just how radically they hit it out of the park with these things. Anyway, Dorian came out with this one handy skill, Auto on the Vanna Rear. At the end of your turn, cost, put all of your other rear guards into the soul, and draw a card for every 2 cards put into your soul with this cost. If you put 4 or more cards, return a grade 3 card with Silverthorn in its card name from your soul to your hand. Retire this unit on rear circle. Dorian's release cost quite the splash in both the V and Premium formats. Viable as both a Vanguard and a rear guard, Dorian worked with basically everything, a superbly generic unit. Even if you don't get to recur a grade 3 Silverthorn out of the drop zone, or as it would be, the soul, simply being able to shove all of your rear guards into soul and then draw cards was plenty powerful as it is. Card advantage of this magnitude was also very welcome in an Excel deck like Pale Moon, whose proclivity to constantly commit cards from hand and soul to field meant that their hand side was rather flimsy a lot of the time. Dorian's talent was also useful as a boss unit in Premium, since the timing for skills being during the end phase worked well with the stride mechanic, while also being a critical piece in the V-Series Silverthorn deck, who we will be discussing later on this list. Dorian would be limited to 1 in both the Premium and V formats due to how powerful she was, though it would be overturned later. Still, the sheer versatility of her scale and how well it shores up a flaw of the clan made waves for Pale Moon, earning her a very nice 5th spot among the top talent in the clan. And at deadly number 4 is Silverthorn Dragon Empress, Venus Luquier. Hey, that's not a V-Series. Indeed, Venus Luquier is an oldie but a goodie with these skills. Act on the Vanguard Circle, Limit Break 4. Counterblast 2 cards with Silverthorn in its card name. Soul Charge 2. Choose up to 5 Pale Moon cards with the sum of their grades being 6 or less from the soul, and call them to separate rear circle. This ability cannot be used for the rest of the turn. Continues on the Vanguard Circle. If you have a card named Silverthorn Dragon Tamer Luquier in the soul, this unit gets plus 2000 power. It would be wrong not to include this card. The first major competitive success for Pale Moon would come off the back of Venus Luquier, and Venus Luquier being one of the highest waifus in the clan, and perhaps even an icon of the clan overall, it's only fair. Venus Lucier's skill to mass call a board and get a nifty defensive bonus provided an incredibly stable game plan, and paired with her Silverthorn archetype's insane deck thinning abilities, she would be the forerunner for the clan's success. Luquier is already the face of the clan, so it makes sense that she also broke ground and brought its first major hit on the competitive circuit while cementing the playstyle of the now iconic Silverthorn archetype, which would garner greater glory in the future. Scoring not 1, not 2, but 3 first place finishes across regionals in the 2014 season, Venus Luquier is a highly successful deck in the Break Ride era of the game and is still beloved by many to this very day. Alrighty then, time for the big three, or as I like to call it, the Foreshadow 3, as all three of these big boss units were previously alluded to as the ace cards which brought their respective decks massive success. First up, we have the most impactful stride in all of Pale Moon, Fancy Mega Trick, Dark Lord Princess. Releasing just prior to the event in Premium Collection 2019, Dark Lord Princess wields one hell of a skill, which reads as follows. Auto on the Vanguard circle. At the end of the battle to attack the Vanguard, turn a card from your G-Zone face-up. Stride a face-up G-Unit with power and the Magi ability from your G-Zone on your Vanguard circle as stand. And that unit gets Stride -2 until end of turn. If you strode, call this card to rear circle. This card is the bee's knees, yo, the true linchpin stride that ties together the robust Pale Moon G-Zone. Wait, hold on a second. So it says it has to stride a Magi ability card, right? How many strides to have the Magi ability? A literal dozen. And all of the relevant strides in a modern Pale Moon deck to boot. Sweet lord. Whether it be the previous strides of this list, classic Magi options from the G era, or heck, even the two new stride retrains that just released in Stride Deck Set Hari, this card lets you stride basically anything you could ever want from your G-Zone. This card does it all, ladies and gentlemen. It generates both Vanguard multi-attack and Rearguard multi-attack, and that's just with its own skill alone. Does it for frickin' free, and optimally interacts with every Amagia stride while doing so. And keep in mind that two of those Magia strides in question already took up their own spots on this list, and are very much capable of making multi-attacks of their own, with big numbers. And an Excel marker, in Yvette's case, Dark Lord Princess has it all, dude. An absolute staple in Premium Pale Moon decks ever since its release, Dark Lord Princess is without a doubt the most powerful, most versatile, and most impactful stride in the Pale Moon catalog, and will only ever grow from here as future Magia strides continue to be released. And taking the silver at second place is the most prevalent rearguard boss in all of Pale Moon, and a potential contender for the face of the clan alongside Yugioh, that being Nightmare Doll Alice. Releasing in VBTO2, Alice had these skills. Auto on the Vanguard circle. When placed, you may call up to one Workoroid from your soul to rear circle, and that unit gets 5,000 power until end of turn. Then, auto on the rear circle. At the end of the battle that it attacked, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and put this unit into your soul to call a non-grade 3 card from your soul to rear circle. So as stated before, Alice was less of a key Vanguard and more of a card that was best utilized as a rearguard boss, the most important rearguard boss ever in the clan's history in fact. To explain why this card is so high, we need to take a step back to G again. You see, Nightmare Doll Leslie and Ginny are key pieces to Nightmare Dolls. They were balanced around the original Alice from BTO3 Demonic Lord Invasion, who needed to hit in order to create multi-attack. Well, see, here's the thing. Nightmare Doll Alice in the V series didn't need to hit. So now we had another multi-attack loop on our hands. Oops! V Alice would have a long-lasting impact on this clan in Premium as the Nightmare Doll package, which would be splashed into several decks, even making its way into modern Hari decks in 2025. There would also be the dedicated Nightmare Doll deck itself that, once again, topped 17 times. But it's incredible how many Premium Pale Moon decks would find room just to incorporate this singular engine. After all, it's not like your strides don't already make enough multi-attacks on their own. Might as well do more with the help of Alice, right? She's a complete 100% generic multi-attack extender that elevates the kill potential of the entire clan while pushing the synergy already put in place by the Nightmare Doll deck into the most successful Premium Pale Moon deck to date, more than worthy of the silver on this list. And now, presenting the top star of the production, the show-stopping queen of the Pale Moon Circus, Silverthorn Dragon Tamer, Yugioh. A V retrain, Yugioh released in the legendary Phantasmal Steed Restoration set with two powerful talents. First up, continuous on the Van or Rearguard circle. During your turn, if you call 2 or more cards from your soul this turn, this unit gets power plus 10,000. Then, act on the Vanguard circle once per turn. Counterblast 2 and discard a card from your hand. Call any number of cards with Silverthorn and their card names from your soul to the rear circle. And then, all of your front row rear guards get power plus 3,000 until the end of the turn. The true face of the Pale Moon clan, Yugioh is as iconic as she is impactful to her deck. Yugioh was the most successful Vanguard in the Pale Moon clan, not necessarily in terms of the tops number, as Pale Moon Circus here seems to give that honor over to the Nightmare Doll deck with, again, a whopping 17 tops. But even though she didn't have quite as many tops, the quality of those tops far exceed them. You see, V-Series Yugioh was impactful in the V standard format, which isn't actually all that common for these lists, but she was a very notable exception. How so, you might ask? Well, she straight up won the World Championship in 2019. Being piloted by Nuno Raimundo and thus bringing the World Championship victory to Europe for the first time ever, Yugioh did break some significant ground. It was astonishing, and being a part of the legendary XL Hell format, Yugioh found its way into many top cuts, hailed as the most consistent of the top XL decks. Anchor Blader, Hyuga, Gauntlet Buster, all monstrous units that saw spots in our previous lists regarding their respective clans. All of them were beasts in their own right, but as her name implies, Yugioh is the master of beasts and was able to surmount them. Her ability to summon forth a field combo with her own leading help Dorian, who then returned the field for sweet, sweet draws. This was particularly effective, as all three of those scary XL bosses that I just mentioned had some nasty field control that she just completely invalidated thanks to her mastery of the soul. Furthermore, her ability to be a 22k beater as both a Vanguard and Rearguard made her versatile and helped to combat the typical XL deck problem of having low numbers. Scoring a total of 7 BCS tops, 2 of which were first place finishes, and 1 World Championship win, V-Series Yugioh was highly successful in a very short amount of time. And as mentioned before, this would lead Dorian to take the fall and be limited to 1, though ultimately Yugioh had a larger part to play in that duo. Even though she's now become outdated with the forward march of power creep, Yugioh was the only unit in Pale Moon to seize the ultimate honor of a World Championship victory, and making history for Europe in the process. Combine that with the various other tops in one of the most oppressive formats ever to date, getting a card hit on the ban list and paving the way for future iterations of the Silverthorn archetype makes V-Series Yugioh the single most impactful boss unit in all of the Pale Moon Circus. And that was the list. Pale Moon is a clan whose greatest strengths lie not in the sheer power of their Vanguards, but the versatility and teamwork of their various pieces, with the most impactful bosses among them being characterized by their ability to facilitate combos and best use the card pool at their disposal. Its strategy of calling units from the soul for board building and multi-attacking has been a unique and formidable aspect which pushed his clan to success at various points in the game, and like many of the more prominent clans out there, led Pale Moon to enjoy a healthy amount of time in the spotlight, complete with an occasional degenerate combo to boot. And with Crest Harry taking the stages at the time of this recording, Pale Moon continues to put on a show in competitive play to this very day, and will likely to continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Anyway, thanks for watching. Seeing as we talked about DI and Pale Moon already, it's only fitting that we move on to the final part of the AL43, that being the high-octane Spike Brothers clan. It's sure to have some fun faces and nasty bosses to talk about, so stay tuned for that video because you won't want to miss it. In the meantime, if you have anything you liked or disliked about the list, or any ideas or suggestions for the next list, please comment down below. Trust me, I do read them. And check out my other videos. I do top 10s like this, fight nights, tier lists, anime reactions, the whole shebang. And if you like what you see, consider leaving a subscribe and turn on the notification bell for the next time I upload a video. And with that said, take care and God bless.